For over a decade, when experts debated the greatest player on Earth, the conversation almost always started with Lionel Messi, and the only other name allowed in that conversation was Cristiano Ronaldo. These two players maintained an absolute duopoly over world football, hoarding individual awards and scoring records year after year. But athletes age. By the early 2010s, clubs and fans were already looking at the calendar, realizing that the sport's two most dominant figures wouldn't be around forever. A vacuum at the very top of the game was inevitable. That impending void raised a massive question for the football world. Who actually possessed the raw talent required to replace them? The scouting networks didn't find the answer in Europe's elite structured academies. They found a once-in-a-generation prospect playing in Brazil. This is Santos FC. It carries an immense historical weight in South America because it's the exact same club that produced Pelé. And in the late 2000s, it became the home of a teenager named Neymar Jr. Neymar played with a fearless, highly technical style, combining the unpredictability of Brazilian street football with professional athleticism. His dribbling allowed him to bypass defenders, leaving them frozen on the pitch. Long before he ever stepped foot in Europe, clips of his creativity were already being shared globally. By the time he was 20 years old, he had outgrown the domestic league. The wealthiest clubs in Europe were actively fighting to secure his signature. People tuned into his matches for reasons that statistics alone couldn't capture. Every touch was an opportunity to see a specific kind of creative magic on the ball. In the eyes of the global football community, Neymar wasn't just following a path. He was carving out a new, highly entertaining vision for what the sport could look like. In 2013, Neymar made the move to Barcelona, stepping into one of the most intense, high-pressure environments in the sport. At the time, plenty of European experts voiced their doubts. They questioned whether a player reliant on flashy, individual skill could survive against the highly organized defensive tactics of European leagues. There was also the psychological hurdle of sharing a pitch with Lionel Messi. Neymar had to figure out how to operate alongside the best player on earth without disrupting the team's established rhythm. Instead of shrinking under that pressure, he evolved. Barcelona brought in Luis Suárez, and the three of them formed an attacking line that became known simply as MSN. The chemistry between the three players was immediate. They systematically dismantled backlines across the continent, scoring goals with a fluidity that caught opposing managers off guard. In 2015, Barcelona won the Champions League, with Neymar scoring the final goal to secure the trophy. His tenure at Barcelona showed he wasn't just a trickster from Brazil. He was a ruthless competitor, operating at the highest level of the game. Fast forward to 2017, when Barcelona faced off against Paris Saint-Germain. This matchup would serve as the ultimate test of his individual capabilities. This chart shows the historical probability of a team advancing in the Champions League after losing the first leg 4-0. Based on decades of tournament history, the probability line flatlines at exactly 0%. No team had ever done it. But then, Neymar took control of the game. He began creating chaos in the attacking third, driving the ball forward to score and assist, forcing those data points to trend upward against all historical precedent. He willed Barcelona to an unbelievable 6-1 comeback victory. It remains one of the most remarkable individual performances ever recorded in tournament play. The sports world reacted with immediate disbelief. Fans and analysts alike realized they had just witnessed an event that defied statistical modeling. That single match cemented the idea that his talent couldn't be purely quantified. He was a statistical anomaly, capable of bending the reality of a football match to his will. By the end of that 2017 season, the global consensus was clear. Neymar was finally prepared to take over the sport. The era of Messi and Ronaldo had a new peer. Following that performance against PSG, it felt as though the prince was no longer waiting for the throne. He was already sitting on it. But as he reached this peak, a record-breaking transfer redirected his career path, starting a sequence of events that would see the crown drift out of reach. By 2017, Neymar looked entirely unstoppable. He had conquered European football at Barcelona, bringing a level of dribbling, vision, and pure flair that had fans convinced he was about to take over the sport entirely. Then came a transaction that shattered the financial realities of the game. Paris Saint-Germain paid a record-breaking 222 million euros to bring him to France. Paris acquired a designated successor. The goal was to pull him out of Lionel Messi's shadow and build an entire sporting project around him as the undisputed central figure. The mandate was clear: secure the Ballon d'Or and become the #1 player on the planet. And the raw materials were undoubtedly there. If you look at his finishing, his creativity, and his ability to read the pitch, a lack of natural talent is simply out of the equation. So if he possessed the absolute highest tier of athletic ability, and he had the total backing of an elite club, what actually kept him from the throne? The first obstacle came from his own body. Almost as soon as the Paris project gained traction, recurring injuries started carving massive holes out of his prime seasons. He was forced to watch crucial knockout matches from the sidelines. Every time he seemed ready to hit his absolute peak, another physical setback reset the clock. He did manage to drag PSG to the Champions League final in 2020, coming incredibly close to the club's massive investment, but the ultimate European trophy slipped away. Then there is the issue of timing. Historically, generational talents eventually see their predecessors age out, naturally creating a vacancy at the top of the sport. This chart compares standard athletic decline against the upward trajectory of Messi and Ronaldo's major trophy wins. They bypassed biological limits, constantly setting new records. Because of this, Neymar's peak years crashed into an unbreakable ceiling, maintained by his two greatest rivals. It reveals a harsh truth about athletic history. Possessing supreme natural ability cannot guarantee you the crown if your prime happens to overlap with the longest dynasty the sport has ever seen. But the pressure in European club football is only a fraction of the psychological weight he carried on the international stage. Back home, the Brazilian public viewed him as the ordained successor to Pelé, handing him an almost impossible historical standard to live up to. For a Brazilian superstar, domestic titles and individual brilliance are appreciated, but true legendary status requires bringing home the World Cup. This immense pressure collided with reality at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, the tournament that permanently locked in the legacies of this era. That winter, Messi captured the single missing piece of his career. For many fans, that final victory ended the debate entirely. Neymar, on the other hand, faced another devastating heartbreak. Despite his individual brilliance for the national team, the ultimate international triumph evaded him once again. It shows how a player can refine every technical skill and make every right move, only to find that unpredictable tournament luck is what truly separates the definitive winners from all the great hypotheticals. Today, it is easy to look at his career and label it a disappointment. But the objective reality is that Neymar is a Champions League winner, a massive global icon, and firmly positioned as one of Brazil's greatest players. Yet, despite a resume most professionals could only dream of, his legacy is permanently shadowed by a giant question mark. What if he had chosen to stay at Barcelona? What if his body had held up through those prime years in Paris? What if Brazil had survived the knockout rounds? What if the Ballon d'Or had finally materialized? We will never have the answers. Football reliably produces champions year after year, but it rarely produces a player who comes exactly this close to the throne without sitting on it. He possessed all the talent necessary, and for a brief window, the future of the sport belonged entirely to him. But a combination of injuries, timing, and luck ultimately forced a different outcome. Because he navigated the harsh realities of the game to become a global superstar, yet missed the absolute pinnacle he seemed destined for, Neymar remains football's most fascinating unanswered question.